All right. Whoa, hello everyone. How many of you were here last year at the Back from Max event? Woo, all right. Well, a lot has happened during this year, and welcome to the Max Creativity Tour. What I wanted to talk about a little bit today was my impressions of Max and what I brought back from Max and what we actually, all the things that we presented at Max. And maybe we can go to my slides now. And yes, my name is Rufus, and I work on the Creative Cloud community team, which sounds much better than the title that Simon used just now, Principal Worldwide Evangelist. Anyway, I work on the Creative Cloud team. And as I love Adobe MAX because, as Simon mentioned, it's a tremendous opportunity, for our incredible global creative community to come together and share ideas, learn from each other, and get inspired. And above all, celebrate creativity itself. So the last event was held in Los Angeles just a few weeks ago, and we welcomed over 15,000 attendees, or creators, or people who are, it's not necessarily designers, it's people who create. And over a million watched the Max keynotes online. And these people came from 62 countries across the globe. And that's a picture from the concert, from the Bash. That's the big party that we have at Max. And there I'm really counting on Simon to have a similar kind of party in Lisbon in the summer. Yeah, this was the view from the stage from the Vampire Weekend concert. So that was pretty cool. So let me talk a little bit about the importance of creativity today. So for centuries, the key to prosperity for individuals, companies, and economies has been to become more productive. Okay? All we were asked to do was to become more productive. In future, this is all changing because we will succeed only by being more creative. Creativity cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence. And with creativity becoming a fundamental skill, we are truly designing our solutions to empower you to start creating fast, to easily collaborate within teams, classroom projects, organizations, and to do so anywhere at any time. So since Max last year, where we've announced a lot of new features a year ago, we've been actually laser focused on doing just that, to increase the breadth and the value of Creative Cloud. And to us, value are mainly three areas. First of all, providing you with the applications that allow you to create what you can imagine. Then, also providing you the resources you need to create projects, to put your ideas to life. And also building a community team, from which you can learn, share, and be inspired. So let's talk about these areas in turn. On the application side, in the past year, we've shipped many new features across the Creative Cloud, including the award-winning artificial intelligence-powered or Adobe Sensei-powered. You're going to hear me say that a lot, Adobe Sensei, okay? Translated into artificial intelligence. The content-aware fill for video, for example, which, we have that in Photoshop, but now you can do that in video and After Effects. Or the powerful new texture slider in Lightroom. That's also AI-powered, and that allows you to make your images sharper. And just a few weeks ago, we finished rolling out a completely redesigned Creative Cloud desktop app. All of you have seen it. Like, it's not inside of the little button at the top of your menus up there. It's now a real app running on your computer. And what we wanted to do is provide you with a familiar and intuitive way to access Creative Cloud apps, to update them, and also to discover all of the other apps that may complement or extend your creativity. And it's also a great place to actually find, organize, manage, and share creative assets or your Creative Cloud libraries with other users or your collaborators. And also to learn through access to a great number of tutorials that are inside of this Creative Cloud experience. And finally, this year, we've also released a brand new painting application called Adobe Fresco. We're going to have Octavia show us a little bit how that works in a second. And we released that on the iPad. And we also brought Premiere Rush to Android, okay? Because that's always the question, okay? You always do stuff for iPad. When for Android? Well, we always do, okay? Eventually. On the resources side, what we want to do is provide you with the very best ingredients for whichever projects you have in mind and make them available to you wherever you need them and whenever you need them. Adobe Stock now offers more than 180 million assets, including images, templates for InDesign, for example, 3D assets, 13 million stock videos assets as well, which, stock video is very important, like make buffers, like inside of the videos, like have some little bits and pieces to put in your videos. And we have over 1 million premium collection images, okay? This is the upscale of normal stock photography. And we also continue to provide more than 17,000 fonts through Adobe Fonts, and in future, access to those fonts will be expanded to iOS. So you will be able to use those fonts on your iOS devices. And we also recently revamped Adobe Color, okay? Just when you think nobody cares about Adobe Color, they're abandoning us. No. We always rethink, okay, what's going to be helpful? How do you use color? What's useful? And so there's a brand new Adobe Color experience for you to enjoy. As far as community, it continues to grow steadily. As Simon mentioned, Behance is now over 18 million members. That's a large amount of creatives all around the globe. And nearly 1 million of those viewers have watched Adobe Live. How many of you watch Adobe Live? OK. Adobe Live is so cool because you get to watch over the shoulders of creative professionals working live and ask questions and have that on, just like the radio, and listen to people talk about creativity and do stuff. It's really cool. It's called Adobe Live, and it's on Behance. And most users watch an average of 1 hour per show. Okay, shows can vary in length, but that's a huge amount of hours in the YouTube world. And soon we will be delivering the ability to live stream work directly from our tools. Just the same way that gamers do from games, you guys will be able to stream while you're doing a Photoshop edit or painting something in Fresco. Okay? And this is also going to be a service of the Creative Cloud inside of Behance. And finally, our second annual Interaction Design Day inspired over 100 events across the globe. And last year, we also celebrated the 20th anniversary of InDesign. Who was there at the very beginning of InDesign? OK, the crowd is getting younger. I like that. I was there. So let's dive into the key themes for Adobe MAX. First, we continue to invest in making your apps faster, more powerful, and more reliable. Next, we also seek to empower you guys to create anywhere, anytime, and with anyone, with tools like Photoshop on the iPad, Adobe XD, or Adobe Fresco. And third, we are building new tools to allow our users to explore new frontiers, to try out new things with applications like Adobe Aero. And finally, while it's not necessarily a theme, you can always see Adobe Sensei somewhere on these slides. And we continue to incorporate cutting-edge innovation with Adobe Sensei, our artificial intelligence platform. And this is at the center of everything we do at Adobe now. So let's take a look at our first theme. All of our MAX 2019 releases have gone through substantial input from the creative community to ensure that we're delivering the right tools, that we're delivering the systems that you creatives will actually be using and that you can rely on every single day. So from discussions on social media to conversations at events such as this one, from customer meetings to media feedback, we hear feedback, and we hear it loud and clear, and then we incorporate that feedback. So what you're seeing here are just a handful of these examples across our apps focused on improvements around power, speed, and reliability. Little things like InDesign loading 50% faster, for example. Okay? These are small things, but it's important that these things get addressed. At Max, we've introduced a lot of updates and new features across our flagship products. And while I can't cover all of them today, I'm going to highlight several key updates so that you can actually see and feel the breadth of what we've announced. Some of these will be showing also very shortly with some live demonstrations. So let's start with design and layout. New Photoshop features on the desktop, for example, include content-aware fill enhancements or the new object selection tool. Have you tried the object selection tool? It's crazy. Yeah, you're going to see it. Those of you who haven't seen it, you're going to experience it in just a second. And we also have a brand new presets panel. In Illustrator, new features include path simplification. Okay, we all know these very complex Bezier paths with lots of gazillion points. Well, Illustrator can now take those elements and reduce the number of points necessary to create the path and simplify it. We've also auto spell check, selective unlock, gradients in CC libraries, and free distort in Illustrator. For InDesign, on the other hand, we've added support for SVG. You can now import scalable vector graphics into InDesign and use those to export to EPUB or other things that, that use SVG. We have column rules and text frames and also variable font support. I was always wondering, why does Illustrator and Photoshop get variable font support and not InDesign? Well, now InDesign also has variable font support, which is awesome. For video and motion, we're delivering major performance improvements across the board. Everything is becoming faster. And we shipped a new Sensei-powered auto reframe feature in Premiere. I'm going to be showing that feature in a second. But I think that will be a game changer, not just for video professionals, but also for anyone that needs to reformat video to fit a square or a vertical format for social media or marketing channels. Photography. Earlier this year, we released an update to address Lightroom Classic performance with a GPU-accelerated editing support. And at Max, we continue to focus on helping our members, our Creative Cloud members, to become better photographers by bringing interactive in-app tutorials to Lightroom on the desktop, and improved speed and performance in the library module in Lightroom Classic as well. So all of these things, they make the apps more helpful, they make the apps faster, and they make the apps more do what you need to do with the specific file that you're working on. As far as 3D is concerned, the latest release of Dimension, which you will be able to also try out in the experience room afterwards, features the ability to create additional lighting setups by adding multiple lights to the object. Until now, it was only one light that you could move around like the sun around the object. Now you can add multiple lights and actually create multiple shades. We have real-time blended rendering, and also indoor match image for lighting, and updates to the transform tool inside of Dimension. And Dimension is becoming increasingly important for the other thing that I will be talking about today, which is Adobe Aero. But what I wanted to finish on this slide is Adobe Stock. We've added a functionality in Adobe Stock to find similar images, find similar functionality, to visually and dynamically filter image results. And we're going to see an example of that used in InDesign. And of course, as always, all of these performance updates and new features are available for everyone, including individuals, small businesses, schools, and enterprises. And do you recognize the image? Yeah, you've seen it coming in, right? Well, it's not the same. Somebody actually made that. I'm amazed. They gave him that image and said, "Can you do that in 3D?" Oh, yeah. OK. And there it is. I'm amazed. Anyway, let's now shift gears to our second Max theme. Create anywhere, anytime, and with anyone. When we talk about mobility for creative workflows, we see it as part of a system, inclusive of phones, tablets, laptops, and desktop computers. It's a creative system, OK? We need to be able to create on any device that we have with us at any given moment. It's all about setting creativity free. So we're expanding our offering of creative systems. But let's start with mobility. We previewed at Max last year, and we worked extensively with the creative community for the past year, and we have shipped Photoshop on the iPad for creatives at all levels of experience. So what we did is we really built the application from the ground up. We didn't reuse code. We actually rewrote the code to make it useful on tablet, on touch devices. So Photoshop on the iPad is an intuitive, more accessible entry point to Photoshop for first-time users, instead of being all, like amazed by all of these tools, and then, many people actually give up when they open Photoshop because it's too complex. So this is a fantastic entry point. But in this ecosystem that we're creating, it is also a fantastic desktop companion for professional creators, because you can open your PSDs. So what we delivered here is really a seamless cross-device experience where your PSDs, Photoshop documents, are automatically saved to the cloud and are available from the home screen every time you open it, on the iPad, on your Windows or Mac machines. And also, Photoshop is approaching its 30th anniversary, 30 years of Photoshop. But this release really kicks off a new journey for us and for Photoshop. And for Photoshop as part of a creative system. So we will release very often, and we will definitely expand capabilities of Photoshop on the tablet as we learn together with you, as you are using it and as you are experiencing it and as you are requesting for features. In October, we also launched Adobe Fresco on the iPad. And basically, the drawing and illustration and painting community, the reaction was overwhelmingly positive all across the globe. So what we've done, we are really excited to share that Fresco is now also available on Windows, including Surface, the Surface Studio, I must be precise here, including, and also the Wacom Mobile Studio devices. And it includes the majority of the features and tools that are already available on the iPad. And that includes the Adobe Sensei-powered live brushes that look, feel, and act just like the real thing, the real brush. Let's now shift our focus to collaboration and start with Adobe XD. So the MAX release of Adobe XD introduces features that make it the fastest way to design with teams, to collaborate with teams, and to create, collaborate, and bring vision to life with many different stakeholders. Over the past years, our monthly release cadence has really resulted in over 40 new features and enhancements. And it's the rapidly expanding functionality to address the evolving needs of designers. Again, working closely with the community. Live co-editing, and we're going to have a look at that in a second, in Adobe XD will allow multiple users to collaborate on the same exact Adobe XD document at the same time, really enabling teams to quickly and easily design user experiences together. And we also introduced a new components with states, which is a feature that enables users to create variations of an element for different scenarios. For example, a toggle button or a radio button or things like that, or more complex things like we're going to be seeing with Stephanie in a second. So for Adobe XD, we have an extensive product roadmap way beyond MAX, way beyond 2019. And we will continue to create an integrated ecosystem that goes across Creative Cloud products and extends out with our partners. Many partners help us with Adobe XD to create further functionality in the form of plugins and things like that. Let's shift gears now to our final MAX theme, and that is explore new frontiers, and more specifically, the ability for you to take your creativity to the next level. In the 2019 Design Census report from the AIGA and Google, the skill most critical to the future of design was adaptability to new technology and social change. So we have to be ready for anything in the future. And then there is 3D and augmented reality. There are over 1 billion AR-enabled smartphones in the hands of consumers that, unlike VR headsets, where you all solitary experience with your thing on your head, are conveniently carried in your pockets. We all have it here, okay? We can go there and use AR. It's not just about AR, VR headsets, and mobile gaming apps. AR has a growing list of real-world applications that all benefit from 3D design and texturing for optimal experience. And this is why dimension comes into play. So from marketing and branding to retail and commerce, travel and leisure, learning and art, all of these things can benefit from augmented reality. Augmented reality is expanding across all industries. So today, the creation of high-quality augmented reality content is expensive, time-consuming, and complex. Our vision is to transform this process, again, inside of an ecosystem, and enable all designers to explore what's possible with 3D and AR. And we also want to ensure that our core Creative Cloud customer have access to the best tools. And over the next year, we're going to work on further integrating Substance, which you see down below here on the slide on the right, which is a solution for creating and applying textures to 3D models, into the Adobe family more fully. So you're going to see a lot more things happening with Substance. Last year, we previewed Project Aero. And at MAX 2019, we shipped it for iOS. Aero is the most intuitive way to view, build, and share immersive and interactive augmented reality experiences. No coding skills required. So whether you want to visualize a concept in space, create an interactive story, or augment a mural piece of art with digital content, the possibilities are truly endless and super fun. We're also working on a desktop version of Aero that will come soon, which will enable the creation of more complex and custom experiences. On the technology front, as I mentioned earlier, and maybe some of you who were here last year remember this slide, it's got many more things on it now. Okay? Adobe Sensei really continues to play a prominent role in our product development. And we've introduced several brand new Adobe Sensei-powered features at MAX, including Auto Reframe in Premiere Pro, Object Selection Tool in Photoshop, Live Brushes in Fresco, and enhancements to match images in Dimension, and many, many more. And we're going to have a look at them now. So it is now time for some show and tell, and my first guest on stage is Octavia Brummel, who is going to show us a little bit about Adobe Fresco and talk about her Adobe Creative Residency. Octavia.
Hi, everyone. That was a lovely warm welcome. Thank you. So my name is Octavia, but everyone calls me Tink because Octavia is a bit of a mouthful. Thanks, Mum and Dad. And I'm an illustrator based in Dorset. I use my experience of anxiety and depression to illustrate the joy in everyday life. So I am currently working on a project called The Joyful Everyday, which is the concept that you can find happiness in the minutiae of everyday life. Following a lifelong struggle with my mental health, I started drawing as therapy 3 years ago. So I feel very fortunate to be here today talking to all of you about it. So as an illustrator, I do a lot of my work digitally. It's great for when you're on the go, and I thought that I would give you a quick insight into how I kind of build an illustration. And while the topic of mental health is not the most lighthearted, as you can see, my work is bright and fun, and it brings me a lot of joy. I use the word maximalism to describe my style, and I love losing myself in vivid colors and patterns. So I am going to jump into Fresco on my iPad, which, as Rufus said, is the new painting and drawing app. So seeing as we are in the Tate Modern, I thought that I would take inspiration from one of my personal favorite paintings here, which is this lovely abstract one by Robert Delaunay. So this is a bit of a Blue Peter moment. Here's one I prepared earlier. And as Rufus has said, and as Simon has said, one of the most exciting things about Fresco is the live brushes. And if you've seen any clips online or in person of people using it, then you've probably seen the watercolors. They get a lot of screen time. And while I do actually love the watercolors, I promise, what I want to show you guys is the oil paints, because they're my personal favorite. So I'm just going to jump over here and select the oil paint detail. And I'm going to pick one of the greens that I have been using for the leaves, because this lady has got a lovely snazzy outfit, as per usual with my work, to be honest with you. But this plant pot is a little bit lackluster, I think. So I'm just going to jump straight in here and start blending the colors. I always say I'm a little bit like a kid in a candy shop when I do this. I have spent hours of my life blending colors, and it really is as satisfying as it looks to do. I can highly recommend having a go
But it doesn't
yourself.
smell.
No, it doesn't. There's none of the cleanup. I'm all for that. So I am just going to add a little squiggly detail. Again, you can really see. I could carry on blending forever, but I'm not going to. And I think I'm just about done. So as Rufus mentioned, I'm one of this year's Adobe Creative Residents. And the Creative Residency is a career Kickstarter program that Adobe runs, which enables emerging creatives to work on your passion project for a year. For me, this is the joyful everyday. And it also means I get to travel the world meeting wonderful people like you lovely folks. And the reason I'm talking about this now is because applications are actually open now for next year's intake. And I will never be able to express in the next 10 seconds quite how life-changing an opportunity this is. But if you feel like you would like to apply, or if you know someone that you think would benefit from achieving what they want to creatively in a year, it is truly an amazing experience. And if you do have any questions, or you want to chat about the residency, or Fresco, or art, or life in general, please come and find me after the keynote. And if you're watching online, then you can find me on Instagram at TinkOutsideTheBox. So it has been a real privilege talking to you, but I'm going to hand back over to Rufus.
Thank you, Octavia. Thank you so much. Woo. All right. All right, so I wanted to jump right into Adobe InDesign for a second, because there is one feature that is Sensei-powered that I wanted to share with you. And basically, I'm working on this layout for a pancake layout in layers. And maybe I'm not satisfied with the picture I have here. So what I can do now in InDesign 2020, Control-click on the image and say, find similar images. And this will trigger a search in Adobe Stock and find me other images that are similar to the one that I've just selected. And then I can use another image, or like add images to my layout. But it gets even better, because if I, for example, like crop the berries out here and do Control-click and find similar images, Adobe Sensei will now look for images of berries. Okay, so you can zoom into like a piece of the image and find similar images. And also notice that it even showed us video, 4K video of these berries. Okay, that's pretty cool, and that's a pretty cool example of what Adobe Sensei can do for us. Let me jump over to Photoshop, because this one tool I was talking about, the object selection tool, is truly magical. And let me just zoom into this image a little bit. Basically, it's this little guy here. And I'm going to take it, and simply by selecting this apple here now, Adobe Sensei says, it's an apple. I want to select that. And look, if I go into masking mode here, you can see that it is actually a pretty good mask. Okay. Let's just do another one just for laughs, like this. Maybe one of those passion fruits, right? Oops. Will it recognize it? Yeah, even if I select it inside of it, okay? It recognized it as a shape. Let's try it with this pepper here. Boom. Or, well, it just works, okay? It's Adobe Sensei at work. And the next thing that I want to do is talk about this collaboration features that I mentioned before. And to do that, I'm going to ask Stephanie Meyer, which is our XD evangelist here in the UK. So if you have any questions about XD, Stephanie is the right person. And we're going to be collaborating on a document. So Stephanie, you need to be plugged in, yes?
I need an HDMI
yes,
cable.
you need a connection.
Hi everyone, I'm Steph. I'm the UI UX evangelist here in the UK, and XD is our vector-based design tool in which you can also create interactive prototypes, and you can collaborate with developers or co-workers like I do with Rufus now.
Yes, so we're collaborating here, and as you can see, I can see. Oh, are we on your screen or my screen now?
We are on my screen. I
now
can
it
see
gets
Rufus
tricky.
here. So
Yes.
Rufus is in my document and
Okay.
about to mess it up, right?
About to mess it up. That's what I'm going to do now. Okay.
So just as a head start, I have created this UI kit about all new features in XD. If you want to get that UI kit, it's available to download on my Behance. My label is Stephanie for XD. You can find me on social media and on Behance and download this kit for free. But,
oh, you see, I'm already playing. I'm already like playing with colors here. Okay.
I can see that. So Rufus
is
right here.
I'm actually co-editing. I'm co-messing on her document. But
well,
this is the point here, that I can do that while she's working on it.
That's it, exactly. Thank you very much, Rufus. So I'm going to change that.
I'm going to make it like lighter, like that. Okay? Is that better? Okay. Now,
well,
this is co-editing.
This is co-editing. So whilst he is changing the colors, I could type something else in here.
And I'm not looking on her. She said, hello, Rufus. Yeah. I can read it on mine. All right,
so
Steph,
that's the beauty of co-editing. But let's jump into another feature, which is component states. So over here we have all the new features from Max, but we're jumping into component states. So the beauty of component states is that you don't need to create multiple artboards anymore in order to create animations. So I just go ahead with the simple interaction of a toggle. Everybody knows a toggle, right? So all I'm going to do is I just create a rectangle over here, not in that group, right here, and try to get maybe 100 by 50, try to get this right. And then I'm going to make rounded corners by just dragging these things on the side. Then I copy and paste it. You don't see it, but you see it over here in my layers panel. And I'm just going to type in here 50 as well, so it's basically a circle. So in order to make that more visible, I'm just going to make it pink, my favorite color, and increase a bit the outline so everyone can see that, right? So you see where this is going, and I just need to press this button up here, which is the plus sign, or I can also go over here and create a new component and give it a name. So let's call that toggle. And then over here, I have the different states. So by clicking on it, I can say new states. We also have hover states for web designs, but this is now an iPhone, so I just say new state, and I say on, for example, and all I'm going to do in here, I double-click in that, and I'm going to move it to the other side. And when I have this selected, you see this is the default, this is the on state, and then I go into prototype mode, I click on here and say the trigger is tab, and I choose auto animate and the on state, and I'm going to do the exact same for the on one, so I'm going to select this and choose here the default state, and now when I play this thing, you can see how it just switches back and forth on one artboard. Obviously,
I like that.
Yeah. Everybody got that? Great. Thank you. Thank you. Obviously, you can create more advanced stuff, which is in here, such as this diagram down here. So when I click into it, you can see that it has 5 different states. And when I play that, then you can see by scrolling down, when I click here, this is just all one component with different states that animates this graph.
And that's what XD is all about, designing experiences. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you,
Stephanie
Rufus.
for XD.
Thanks,
on
everyone.
Twitter, on Instagram, and everywhere.
Thank you.
Oh, you have a fan base. That's awesome. Couple more features that I wanted to show you, and I'm starting with Premiere. And what I wanted to show you here is this, okay? This is the video that I need to put into a vertical format. So if I play it, you see that the skier goes to left, to right, and you know, if I turn on how I want to do that, we can actually see, let me go back to the beginning of the movie, and okay, and play it again. You see, it goes out of the frame, it goes back into the frame. I would have to do that, all of that manually. But now, thanks to Adobe Sensei, I'm going to turn these off. What I can do is take this clip and say, you know what? please make auto reframe the sequence. And here I can choose an aspect ratio. And here, in that case, I want to do it vertical, 9 by 16. Create. Adobe Sensei analyzes the image. And now when I play it, check this out. It senses what the subject is, and then allows me to do these types of cuts very, very quickly. All of these things, of course, are changeable in the effects control. If I turn these on, actually, let me just go back, select the clip here. If I go into the effects control, all of these effects are here. And if I played here, all of these are keyframes that I can change and make better if needed. One last thing that I wanted to show you is Adobe Aero. And to do that, here, I just need one last little dongle here. Let me see to turn this on. OK, we can move to my phone if it's visible. No? Yes, ooh, it worked. OK, let's open Adobe Aero. And Adobe Aero is the augmented reality app. So cool. I want to create a new thing here. So first of all, I need to tell Aero what the surface is that I want to work on. So I'm going to tap here, all right, and add an object. And there's a whole bunch of starter assets. Let's take an animated asset. Oh, let's take the dinosaur roaring, OK? OK, so it's now downloading that dinosaur. Oh, that's a small dinosaur. We want it big. Something like that, maybe? Yeah. Let's move the dinosaur here. OK, tap to place asset. And now, this dinosaur is actually here. All right? And I can animate that dinosaur. I can say, OK, let's select the dinosaur and add a behavior. The trigger is touch. That's a dangerous thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Action, animate. OK, and say OK. And then if I go into preview, I can still move around the dinosaur and check it out, and all the shadows are here and everything. And if I tap on it, oh, scary. All right? And this is what augmented reality can do for you. It's creating, it's still there. Woo. So let me go back to my presentation just for a second, because there is one last thing I wanted to talk to you about. And I'm going to unmirror the displays and play that. So we spent a lot today talking about opportunities of creative technology. But also, let's also talk about the ramifications of that technology and what we can do to address the biggest problems facing society today. These days, whenever we go online, we often ask, what can I trust? There are more and more social media posts and news stories with false or misleading photos or videos. Sometimes it's an honest mistake. Someone shares what they think is a picture of fires in the Amazon, but then it turns out that this image is actually from somewhere completely different and from a different time even. Or sometimes there are more sinister motives for sharing fake media. The problem has gotten so bad that a shadow of doubt falls over all media. And today, work you produce and distribute in good faith can be greeted with suspicion and mistrust. And work that's meant to deceive can be accepted as truth. And complicating the problem is that all the players that are involved. There's the authors of the content. There's the makers of creative tools like us at Adobe. There's content publishers, like news sites or social media platforms. And of course, the people who view the media and click on it and share it, all right? All of these players collectively have a responsibility to help solve the problem. And at Adobe, we're actually stepping up to do our part. Together with the New York Times and Twitter, we formed what we call the Content Authenticity Initiative. And we and our partners believe it's essential for people to know who created a piece of media, where it came from, and what they did with it. So we all feel more trust for a piece of work if the person who made it is willing to stand up and take credit for it. And as a legitimate creative artist, we all want to credit our work and know what's happening with it. So our initiative aims to help everyone judge what they can trust, to ensure that you get credit for your work, and also to push back that shadow of doubt that all media is under today. It will be a very long journey, but we're getting started today. So we're developing an industry-wide system that will allow creators to put their mark on the work they created, and that attribution will follow the work or the piece of media as it's being used on different platforms, posts or stories. And this is not a mere watermark like we know from the past. It's truly a system to file your attribution, which will then be followed around the web with the help also of artificial intelligence. And we absolutely believe that on top of this, artificial intelligence and machine learning can play a role in bolstering our industry initiative. One example. Adobe Labs and the University of California, Berkeley, are collaborating on technology that detects edits to facial images. And we truly believe that this kind of work will help democratize image forensics. So with the use of deep learning, this research project is actually able to recognize altered images of faces. So the researchers created an extensive training set of images, scraping and then altering thousands of images from the internet. And in addition, an artist was hired to alter images so that this human mix was entered into the data set. And this element of human creativity actually broadened the range of alteration techniques used. And at Adobe, we believe that technology plays a huge role in our ethical discussions. And we are committed to bring this kind of technology to our toolset over time. But in the end, it is still a very human problem. Thank you, and I'm going to give it back to Simon and our wonderful guests over here. Thank you.